Y'all can thank me for the rain. You can just thank me. It wasn't God. It wasn't Mother Nature. It was Sherry Martin. Because at 7 o'clock last night, I looked at my black car and I said, Lord, you look awful. I'm going to wash you and make you look pretty. And it did till 4 a.m. this morning, and it rained. And I'll be darned, so it's my fault. But welcome to Paul Kiker, who's with us today because he's with us once a month. And we always talk about money and stuff, and today we're going to start with big money. Big money. 66 Chevelles.
Oh.
Okay. If you're a man,
66
yes, yes. If you're a man and you have $100,000 and you can invest it in a Chevelle that will bring $140,000, good investment, huh?
Well, the problem with me is if I bought a Chevelle, I wouldn't sell it.
Exactly.
So
that's what I wanted him to tell me. It's not an investment if you don't sell it. And nobody that I know would sell a 66 black, mint condition, perfect Josh Goble, built to the nines, absolutely stunning car. So we say the difference in men and boys, the price of their toys.
That's true.
The price of their toys, truly, $40,000 investment just like this, because there are a line of people waiting to buy it.
Yeah.
You're not going to sell that car. Who would sell a car like that? You wouldn't sell it. Holly wouldn't even let you.
No, I wouldn't. You know, but the thing is most people sell them because they have to, not because they want to.
Yes, which is sad. I sold one because of the turn down, and I'm going to make you laugh. I'm doing coffee on the set today because honestly, my ears have just now opened up so I can hear. I'm so stuffy, it's terrible. I sold, out of all the Chevelles I've ever had, I had one that I had way too much money in. It was absolutely a gorgeous black car, but downturn happened and I had to sell it. Made me puke. But during that time, I saved some things. And I don't know if I've ever shared this with you, but when the bottom fell out and everybody you know was filing bankruptcy, everybody you knew was losing their homes, the newspaper made a living printing foreclosures.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was page and page and page and page and page.
That was 3/4 of the paper there.
Exactly. They're probably wishing for foreclosures again. But during that time, I sat down, because y'all, you can trust me to do this. I sat down with a pen and paper, hand wrote a 6-page letter to President Barack Obama and told him what was happening in North Georgia and that people were losing their homes, people were this, people were that, people were losing jobs. ETC had huge layoffs. I mean, it just, they downsized. Everybody did. Everybody had to. We had no choices. And I wrote the president this letter. I found his reply this week. I've been going through stuff. It's almost like everybody around me is dying, so I'm thinking, I better get ready to die just in case I fall over. So I got this pile for this one and this pile for this one and the personal stuff and I find this letter from Barack Obama. And I wish I'd brought it today. It was 3 pages long, 3 typewritten pages long. He replied to my handwritten 6 pages. And I just cracked up because it says, this is so funny, that he is doing exactly what my president today is doing. But he didn't do it.
No.
He said he was going to do it. He did nothing that he said he was going to do. And as I was reading it, so I'm going to put this in an overnight envelope, and I'm sending the original to the President of the United States, President Donald John Trump. And I'm going to say, here's your guideline. He said he was going to do it. He didn't. It looks like it's what you're doing today. It was hysterical.
Yeah.
Reading it, I said, oh, well, darn, if he'd have followed through then, by today it would be a different world.
Yeah.
And yesterday, I'm looking at real estate listings, and I'm looking, and we've got some pictures today from an award. Evelyn and I got some pretty nice awards. And we were at this event, and lots of dollars changed hands this year with real estate. Billions of dollars. But very few first-time buyers got to get in their home.
Oh, yeah. Government policies have priced them out.
It is so hard to see those young kids, and we're going to discount one today about $6,000, which would actually just help them with their closing cost, because the cost of everything has gone up. And people are just kind of stagnant sitting. And so when I was looking at all these listings, the big expensive houses, they're not being touched. They're not being bothered. They're selling. They're selling, and they're selling very, very well. But the first-time buyers are really struggling today.
Well, they are. I mean, you know, a lot of this goes back to 2008, going back to what Obama did under his
remember that year.
Yeah. So, I mean, they changed the rules of the game, right? So, you know, I would talk to people and say, hey, look, you got to have an emergency fund. I was screaming in 2007.
When you were giving me that speech, I'm going, Jesus, I hope I have enough gas to get home today.
I know. Well, you know, and I was telling people to sell local bank stocks, and, you know, that was a period of time.
I actually sold my bank stock. I did, yeah.
And I got a phone call from one of the local bank presidents and said, if you don't tell people to quit selling their stock, I'm going to run you out of town. I was actually too dumb to pay. It was just mathematics, right? But then on the other side of it, trying to get people that were prepared, they were making their payments. They were not behind. And then all of a sudden, these loans came due, and the government's essentially forcing...
Because they were undervalued.
Because they were undervalued.
Undervalued.
Well, that shouldn't matter as long as you're making your payments.
However, I said those same words.
The banking industry changed, and the Obama administration and those grifters, right, that were in politicians and on Wall Street, you know, now all of a sudden you have former regulators that came out, started these banks, and they get different rules. Okay, we're going to guarantee that if you take over this bank and we hand it to you, that you're not going to lose on this investment, right? Because they had certain guarantees on those foreclosures, so they could sell them for whatever. And they used that opportunity to take down the small banks. Now, one of the things we see in an interview with Mark Andreessen, who was a guy who went into the Biden administration, he's a longtime Democrat, turned around and walked away from the Democratic Party because of the fact that the Biden administration said, we want to consolidate into 4 or 5 companies. And that's what they started doing back then, because it's all about control.
Right.
And the problem is they play on people's emotions, and if you jerk people's emotions, you can control them. It's easy to control people when their emotions take over. But you know, they said we're going to do this. Oh, we're for you, but we're really for the big banks. We're really for big Wall Street. We're really globalists on that stage, and that's one of the things that Trump's upending. And they've filled the media with their individuals, and that's why the average person has such a hard time right now knowing what's the truth, right?
And so many people are believing one thing, which is blatant lies. I mean, it's so weird. It's so weird. But when I found that letter, I wasn't even going to read it. But I got to tell you something else I found. I found something, and you may think I'm crazy because I sold it on eBay and I have to ship it. But I don't know how I'm going to ship it because I had a little problem with some postal things happening. Oh, Lord, don't even get me started. We have great local post office. All our local post offices are amazing. Amazing workers, amazing good attitude, great. It leaves here, and Katie bar the door, you don't know where it's going.
Once
it leaves here and goes to Palmetto, Georgia, you're screwed. You're just, you know, and I showed this picture of this formal dress that I had, that brand new, tag on it. Lady wanted to wear it. I sent it to California to her, never got there. 4 months, we're still looking for it. And I'm like, okay, so do I send this item I just sold on eBay, which is autographed by Martin Luther King? Now, question to you is, would you have kept it or sold it?
Well, it depends. I mean, I tend to keep things.
Well, so I've kept it a long, long time, but at my age, my kids don't care about this stuff. If my kids had it, they'd lay it on the table and the grandbaby would probably tear the page out of it, you know? So I'm just thinking, after me, nobody really cares about stuff.
Well,
you know?
And that's one of those things that the longer it's held within a family line, the more valuable it is.
Sure.
So I always tell clients when we go through their estate planning, you know, had clients that have got these paintings. They're like, my kids don't have any idea the value of this. And I'm like, write a list, say this is why I've kept it, this is why I desire for you not to sell it. And at some point in the future, this may be so valuable that, you know, you can donate it to a museum and you can get the tax deduction, or if somebody's in a bind, they can sell it. So the thing is, when you have something valuable, it may be important to you, if there is, you know, and it's okay to sell it. I just tend to be the type of person that will hold on to things.
It was hard. It was hard for me to sell it, hard for me to price it. I chose it. I looked at other things on eBay priced that were his autographs, and some were extremely expensive. And I said no, because mine was like this. It's a book, but it had a torn cover.
Okay.
And so I thought that devalued it some.
Yeah,
but
it
inside it was a very nice personal inscription. So I said, that really didn't devalue it. So I priced it. You know how I know I priced it wrong?
How? Oh, it went too fast.
30 seconds.
Yeah.
30 seconds. So I've done estate sales for people for years, and I always do my research. On mine, I thought I had done the research. When it sold in 30 seconds, I smacked my little fat jaws.
Well,
said,
and you never
dummy.
know.
But I don't care. I mean, I don't care. You know, I want somebody to have it who will enjoy it. And I wrote him a letter, and I said, I hope that you preserve this piece of history, because hopefully he's a lot younger than me. And honestly, because nobody in my family cares about stuff like that, you know. So,
well,
did I goof? Maybe, but.
Well, and here's the thing. It could have been that person has been looking for that for a long time and at the right time. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you underpriced it. It just means that person had the means.
Yeah, and then let me tell you, I'm thinking I'm getting X amount of dollars, and then eBay takes their part and it drops down a bunch.
Yeah.
So, you know, it is what it is.
That's their business model.
But if you're, you know, we're going to show some pictures now of investments. And these investments, one is cobalt blue.
Oh.
And it matches a shirt that I was wearing in a picture. And I guess that's the reason I love this picture of this Chevelle, because it is cobalt blue. Now, it is not the mint condition car. Now that's the black one. This is the mint condition, perfection, absolutely. There's a difference. The cobalt blue is extremely gorgeous, sounds amazing, sits perfectly, but this one is built right here in Gilmer County. This car is one of a kind. It is all matching numbers. Everything about it is perfection. It is going to be that car that even as an investment, you could make money on it. Would you sell it? Never in 100 years.
Right.
Never in 100 years. I would probably be buried in that car. I would probably have Kevin Roper, have you ever embalmed anybody and put it? And this is the video of when the car was purchased up in Tennessee. You see, it's not raining there. Okay, these three dudes from Gilmer County go up there to pick up the car. I've just had major surgery, and it's such a crazy time, and so they go up there to pick it up. You see the blue skies? It's wonderful. The next 3 hours they spent in blinding hail rainstorms trying to get out of Tennessee with this 66 Chevelle. There it sits that has no insurance on it, has just paid cash for it, coming down the road in a blinding rainstorm. Now, you talk about your nerves and your bottom tied up in a knot.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So they get it back to Gilmer County, and then the magic begins. There was no repair work to do on the body at all. Excuse me, see, I told you you'd have to talk today. This is crazy, y'all, the pollen. But anyway, this car, honestly, is perfection. All the numbers match. Everything about it is great. It's got a built 396, 375 horsepower engine in it. It is one of those things we all say when you buy a car, you go in and say, Holly, I bought this great investment and I paid $100,000 for it and it's worth $140. And she says, when are we going to sell it? And you said, never. So sometimes investments are good. I mean, I just had some jewelry appraised, and I know what it cost me, and I know gold has gone up a bunch.
It has.
A bunch, and one of them is 18 karat. It's gone up a ton. And I was like, wow. So investments are good, but like you're talking about art, I have 2 original paintings that are worth probably more than the house, but anyway, they're not of value to me on the market because they were personal gifts, and so I couldn't sell those ever.
Yes.
But what am I going to do when I'm gone? Hope I find a child who loves them? I don't know. Maybe I even thought about donating them to a historical museum.
Yeah,
I thought about,
people do that, especially
because
for
they're of historical homes. And so I thought about that. I mean, we just, we invest and we work and we save and we try to have, and then when we're dead and gone,
I know him.
Yeah, you
That's a good
do.
friend.
Yeah, you do. He's an angel.
Graduated high school
He's
together.
an angel.
He is.
But they had the best time going to get this car, and everybody's so excited about it. But it is truly the best 66 Chevelle, I think, that ever hit North Georgia, possibly that ever hit the southern southeast. But it's one of those things, it was a labor of love. From the moment it was picked up, everything about it was done correctly. And that's the difference. You can go to a car show and you buy a car, you can buy a 67 Chevelle a lot cheaper than you can a 66. Did you know that?
I did.
Because there's more of them. I don't know why. And Mr. Ellijay says, you don't want no 67, it looks like a Buick. And I said, it does not. But you invest and you save, and then you have to insure it, and you have to keep it in a building, and you have to babysit it. So I'm thinking $100,000 worth of gold somewhere is really a lot more valuable, isn't it?
Well, it has been, especially in the past 25 years. Your total return has been, gold's been the #1 performing major asset class since the year 2000, and very few people own it.
Why?
Well, the industry tells people not to own gold.
Why?
They can't make any fees off of it, just like...
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Because you get it, you put it away, and you preserve it.
Yeah, you set it
There
aside.
you go.
And I mean, mutual funds have internal expenses, ETFs have internal expenses, bonds, corporations that sell bonds, they'll make a 3% spread on it typically when they sell it to you. Now, there are commissions that'll take place on the buy or sell of gold, but the industry just doesn't like it. And #1,
That's weird.
it wasn't a good performing asset from 1982 until about the year 2000. And unfortunately, investors pay attention to popularity of an investment more so than the fundamental. So when it underperformed all other asset classes, it gets out of sight and out of mind. People don't pay attention to it. It's not on their radar. They're chasing the hottest, sexiest thing. Late 1990s, everybody was chasing internet stocks.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And they didn't even consider buying gold at $230 an ounce.
Now it's $2,500.
No, it's $3,200 an ounce.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that is crazy.
Gold's up a little over 50% the past,
Wow.
24
I remember
months.
when Tommy Massey had a jewelry store in downtown Jasper. I had some sterling silver, like tea service, and it went from $4 to $20 an ounce, and I sold. How much is silver today?
Silver's underperformed gold, interestingly. It's about $34 an ounce.
Okay, so that's still a lot more than I sold it for. Yeah.
If it
But
catches
yeah.
up to the ratio, so historically silver's been 15 times throughout 400 or 500 years what the price of gold is. Right now it's about 100 times less than the price of gold. So if it
Wow.
goes back to that 15 ratio, theoretically you're $250 an ounce.
Isn't that crazy?
But I mean, there's a lot of upside potential, but it takes a lot of patience, and most people just don't have patience. I mean, that's their biggest
Well, and
mistake
it was
in
me
investing.
when it went from $4 to $20. I'm ready.
It's a good
'Cause-
return.
Yeah, it was a
Yeah.
good return, and that's what I said. Tommy said, "Are you sure you want to get rid of this?" And I said, "Sure, okay, yeah." And it was at a time that you have to. Number one, when you're selling something like that, you have to find somebody you trust because not everybody is trustworthy. And you have to find somebody you trust. And I was reading in this book about the gold. I think it was $50 million in gold that the Cherokee had.
Okay.
$50 million in gold then, today would be worth?
Oh gosh, I don't know. What year was that? So you're talking
1835.
$16 an ounce. So how much did you say it was?
$50 million.
50 million.
I want to see how much we need to charge ourselves with stealing from the Cherokee, because we did.
That'd be 3,125 ounces at 16. My calculator's not going to do this. 3,200. That would be 325 is 10 billion.
Well, they are going to be mad at us now, aren't they?
Yeah, 10 billion. $10 billion.
$10 billion
Yeah.
that we took when the Cherokee had 50 million. And when you think about 50 million in the year 1835. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money.
Was that correct?
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it is kind of crazy.
Yeah, but it is one of those things. If you follow the path of who is the richest, we had the Depression. People jumped out of buildings. There were times that money meant everything to everybody, and there's nothing we could do about it because we were doing what we do to try to survive. And do you know anybody during the Depression that lost everything? Do you know any families who lost everything?
Well, I mean, I heard the stories. So my grandfather talked about the Great Depression and just how tough it was.
Changed the way they lived.
Yeah, and
I heard stories. They hoarded food. They hid things. They were afraid.
Yeah, and
it put fear.
You know, and it's cycles that we go through. So you come out of that Great Depression era, they did not like debt because they understood that the borrower was servant to the lender. Those are the problems that caused the collapse of the Great Depression. Now, back then we were linked to a gold standard, which means that you would have periods of inflation followed by periods of deflation, where now the government just prints money and causes equal opportunity misery for everybody except for the asset holders.
Yeah.
Which is what's priced out our children, being able to buy homes. We went recently to Rome and looked to buy homes, and I was just heartbroken for my daughter in Tyler.
Rome, Georgia?
Yeah, Tyler's
You can buy a lot more there than you can here, that's for sure.
You can. There's a lot more homes priced in the starter range, but it's still sad what you can buy for $250,000, $300,000.
Yeah. I can tell you, Calhoun, Georgia, Gordon County, some really good buys because there's no industry there anymore. There are no jobs there. If you don't work at Buc-ee's, you don't get a job.
Right.
You know, so Gordon County, some amazing prices.
Yeah.
Even on land.
Yeah.
Of course, you know, it's not pretty mountain views. It's flat and gets flooded, but you know, that's an area where people. And I said, if you're retired, Lord, I want to sell you a house. I'd like to sell you one in Ball Ground, but a lot of people are saying, take me where I can get more for my dollar. And so they're going to Gordon County or to Floyd County.
That's right.
So, yeah.
They sure are.
And it's a good time because it's only 30 miles to Lake Weiss from Rome.
That's right. It is nice. And it's, you know, and I really enjoyed going over to Rome. It's been a long time since I've been over there, and they have all kinds of restaurants, all kinds of, you know.
Have a beautiful downtown.
Unlike us, where we're a bedroom community, for the most part, or retirement community, you just don't have the infrastructure of the options that are available. And Rome's far enough out. Got good medical community over there. That's why Tyler's there for his residency.
Yep.
But it's still heartbreaking. You know, Holly and I got married, and we go in and look and like, okay, roll up our sleeves and do some work. Well, Tyler's going to be in medical school. He doesn't have the ability to do it.
That's right.
And Katie has, there's reasons why she's not going to be able to do it coming up later this year. I can't say right now, but read between the lines.
Yeah.
And so we got to find them something that, you know, maybe a little paint
can move
is
in.
about it.
Yeah.
And that makes it harder to find a really good investment.
You know, it's funny that you said that. I'm working on something and we're documenting it, and we're going to call it the project. And I'll tell you why later, but there's a reason. And I've flipped some houses. I've completely redone from the ground up, done some crazy things that turned out really, really well. And this one, because I was on the board of directors for Habitat for Humanity, being there and having to choose 1 or 2 families a year when you have 50 families applying was the hardest thing about that, because you meet so many amazing people who deserve a home.
Yeah.
And you can't get them in a home. You can't get them in a home. But I learned that sweat equity is the best thing about Habitat for Humanity. If you can see beyond an old house, and the one that we're working on now that we're documenting everything, it really is an old, old house, but the people lived in a little tiny 1960 mobile camper while they built this house. And I just, the more I'm there and walk the property, the more I feel connected to, even in 1960, they had to live in this little bitty camper that when you open the door, it is like going back to 1960. Everything in it is just like it was. And I'm just like, wow, this is almost too cool to believe. And they lived there forever. And that was their one and only home. And today, it needs so much. It needs so much, but the bones are good.
Yeah.
The bones are good. And when you think about these floors are solid, it does have a lot of issues. Lord, it's got issues. I video it and I'm like, how are you going to deal with this? But you do, because it's what you can afford.
Right.
And you can start there and it will be your first home and it will work out. But you got to put that sweat equity in it.
You do. And no matter what you want to do, to be somewhere, you have to make sacrifices today, right? You have to sacrifice.
Well, we've told the story over and over about y'all living in a double wide.
Oh, yeah. Best place we ever lived.
Oh,
the cost of
yeah.
living was simple. We're right on top of each other.
You're
so
not under a
fellowship
bunch
was
of
easy.
pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're actually in less square footage now than what we were in the double wide. And it's been 3 years now, and it was worth the sacrifice.
So y'all are
for where we
in
want to go.
kind of a baby barn dominium.
Yeah, so what we did was we took a metal building and built, it's got a garage on it, but we put a apartment in it, 2-bedroom, 1-bath apartment. And
2-bedroom, 1 bath. Okay,
Yeah.
there you go.
yeah, that's what we did.
I can see their mornings.
Which was
Holly, are you still in there? That's funny.
too much information, but it's funny. So I can't stand walking in the bathroom behind somebody.
Yeah.
It's why I didn't go in the medical field. So I told my heat and air guys, a good client friend of mine, I said, hey, can you find a jet fan for the fart fan in the bathroom? And he said, Paul, this thing's like $800. And I said, I don't care. I said, I want it to pull the air out of the whole house when you turn it on. And I had the electrician wire it where you can't hit anything. So you can actually be sitting in there, take your little piece of toilet paper by the door and it'll cover. I'm exaggerating a little bit. But
that's crazy.
it's funny because when we did that, it was Will's senior year. Well, Holly's family would drive 2.5 hours to come watch every football game that they could.
Wow.
Of course, Kale would come over, and he was living in Milledgeville his senior year, and Katie and Tyler would come in. I think she was at Dahlonega. So we would have sometimes 12 to 15 people stay
in 2-bedroom, 1 bath.
2-bedroom, 1 bath. It was the adventure the first year, right?
So Chevy Chase has nothing on you.
Yeah.
Vacation.
So and it's easy for me because I'm usually up at 5 o'clock every morning anyway.
And
So I
you're
was
gone.
done before anybody else. But then last year we had Thanksgiving and all Holly's family and her sister's husband's family came
Still
in.
the 2-bedroom, 1 bath.
20 of us with that 1 bath. And I told Holly, I said, okay, it was fun the first year.
Yeah.
I said, but I'm either getting a porta-john when everybody comes next time or we'll go to somebody else's place.
Yeah.
So, but hey, it's been great. I mean, it's been easy, and it's amazing just how much wasted space we have in houses now.
Yeah. Now, let's talk about what you're doing. Are you doing it as a lifestyle change, or are you doing it as an investment?
So, an investment, a little bit both. So, one of the things that I wanted was, it was important to me to have some more land. Mm-hmm. And I am concerned about our quality of food. I have been for some time. Mm-hmm. Holly and I have always been gardeners. And then I wanted something in the North Georgia area that could be down the road, potentially if there were societal issues, that could be a turnkey farm. Mm-hmm. So I've got goats and chickens, and I just enjoy being outside on the weekends. So
you get eggs now?
Oh yeah, I get.
What do you do with the goats?
So the goats right now, I'm building the herd, are being used to maintain the property and the forest line, because it's amazing what they do to keep up with the forest.
Yeah.
Once I get enough to maintain the property where I'm not having to go out there and cut all the time, then I'll start selling them. Mm-hmm. There's a good market for goats in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And
there's a good market for people. You sell a goat on Saturday, and it's Sunday they invite you to dinner and they're eating that goat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I get three dozen eggs a day now. I'll probably get 4 dozen starting this fall. So I just keep my staff in them. They really liked them when they were my team at the office, and we like that. So the whole purpose was we didn't know what we wanted to build. So, and then rental was so high.
Oh yeah.
And my oldest son, Kel, is a commercial builder, so he was building those type buildings, and so my brother-in-law. So I was like, hey,
let's do it.
If we build this, essentially what we paid for it and what the rent would be, it's going to pay for itself in 2.5 years.
Yeah.
So I told Holly, I said, we're going to live here for 3
Done.
years.
Yeah.
We'll work on the infrastructure of the farm, and then we'll figure out what we want to build. And so we're actually starting the process here in the next 60 to 90 days.
Cool.
And I'm
I
gonna
bet
take
it
my
has
time.
more than one bathroom, y'all.
It will, but not one bathroom more than we needed is absolutely necessary.
There you go.
So,
there you go.
and then this place will be something that I can rent out, use for people in the ministry, you know, to help others with for short periods of time.
Yeah, yeah. Are you going to do blueberries and things like that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I have
yeah.
blueberries, Honeycrisp apples, pink ladies, Granny Smiths, cherries, pears. Well, pears are going to go on the other side of the property because you're not supposed to plant them by apples.
Really?
Peaches, yeah.
Who told you that? Are
Yeah.
they not friends?
No, so
They pollinate differently?
Gabe up at Quinn's Nursery told me, he said there's a disease that pear trees can get that can infect apples. So he said plant them on the other side of the property.
That is crazy.
So we're doing pears on the other side, but it's funny because Holly and I had this argument. I'm the type of person that, like, I'm focused on where I want to be 5 years from now. So Gabe's like, hey, for the first 3 years when you plant these fruit trees, pluck all the fruit off of them. He said, because you want the growth to go into the root system.
Instead of
He said it'll
the
make
fruit.
them more resilient from a long-term standpoint.
Wow.
So I've been shaping the trees, doing all this stuff. I mean, it's funny what you find on YouTube. Pinterest, I thought was for women only, but now I look at Pinterest all the time. I used to make fun of Holly. I'm like, Pinterest. She's like, you need to look at it. I'm like,
Yeah,
that's
now
for
you're
girls.
living it.
That's for girls, and now my page is great. Everything about blueberries and how to do this. So I think I have 20 blueberry trees, but this year Holly and I had a compromise because I got 4 peach trees, and this is the 3rd year, and she says, I want to eat peaches off of our trees. And I'm like, well, I'm going to take 2 trees, I'm going to clip them down to about 10 peaches each, and hopefully we'll get a chance. But the rest of them, I'm plucking all the fruit off so that those
That's
roots
crazy
will
that,
grow.
that a farmer starts in really 3 or 4 years before you produce anything. That's crazy.
I mean, it is. That's That's one of the reasons why farmers tend to be conservative. They understand. Now, if you live in the city, everything is instant gratification, right? It's easy for these uneducated, overeducated with no wisdom individuals to go
Common sense. Common sense.
Yeah, to be like it's horrible. But when you're a farmer, those animals, right, they're your relationship. You're around them every day. You've seen them born. They grow. You treat them with respect. Most farmers do, especially organic farmers. Commercial farmers, not so much. But you understand the sacrifice that animal has to pay for you to live. And then with fruit trees, right? Like, I have to think 3 years from now.
That's crazy.
How many people in today's society will really make sacrifices for where they want to be 3 years from now?
No,
right?
nobody. Don't know anybody.
And even Holly, I mean, that's why we blend out good together. I mean, they invented copper wire pulling a penny out of her hand. She just doesn't spend very much money.
Yeah.
But, I'm like, no. Gabe said this is the best thing to do, right? So we're going to, I take that advice seriously. I want my roots good so I can get better fruits later. So we're having this little compromise right now.
Well, let me ask you this, because I don't know if you have time to watch YouTube, but on YouTube, a lot of people farm and document it, and it's on YouTube, and they have millions of viewers.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And so have you considered doing that?
No, well, I have. So one of the things I'm doing is I'm taking photos.
I'll
of the
tell you,
progress.
if he does it, he'll have the hottest wife on a farm that's ever been. There's nobody out there in YouTube land. They all have cute wives. They all have sweet kids. Ain't nobody got a Holly out there.
Yeah, she is a rare one. But, the funny thing is, I guess because I talk so much Monday through Friday, and I love to listen. So I'll save my YouTube teaching podcasts on the weekend when I'm working. I'm listening so I can learn.
Yeah.
And so I don't like social media that much. So I'll probably never, outside of the benefit of my kids, so they can say, oh gosh, Dad
started with nothing.
Dad spent 2.5 years on the weekend stumping 22 acres worth of pasture, and then he seeded it, and he did all this.
Yeah, yeah.
And I enjoyed that.
That's awesome.
For the longest time, Holly said she was a farm widow on Saturdays because, it was pay somebody $5,000 an acre,
or do it
to
yourself,
clear it, or do it myself.
Yeah.
And take that time, and I just enjoy doing things like
You know what this week is?
No.
Mother's Day.
Oh yeah.
What will Holly get for Mother's Day? Blueberries or peaches?
Yeah, she's getting some peaches. But that's the hardest thing with Holly. She is not a gift person. She'd rather just spend time. So
I love that.
I'll be like, hey, here's 3 days, whatever you want to do. You've got my undivided attention.
Yeah, that's cool.
She gets more than 3 days, but
yeah.
I put, 3 specific days, choose what you want.
It is so strange because yesterday one of the kids said, where do you want to eat Mother's Day? I said, at home. And they said, what? Well, we wanted to take you out to eat. I said, don't like doing that. I said, you evidently don't know much about me after all these years. Mother's Day is the one day of the year I'd rather eat a bologna sandwich at home than go out, because every mother in the world will be out there. Every poor waitress will be strained to the max, and everybody will be ill because they've had to wait. And if you're dumb enough, I can't believe I said that. If you're not thinking clearly and you get in line somewhere, and I'm not going to name any names, at a restaurant, that ladies, everybody who watches my show can cook better than this restaurant. But people sit on the front porch and rock, waiting to get them a seat. And they just sit out there and they rock for over an hour waiting on a table. All of y'all cook better than that. I can get up and serve leftovers, and it's better than most. And I just think, and I told the kids, I said, time to talk, time to visit, time to look, time to think, time with your children. To me, make them a dadgum peanut butter and jelly sandwich and sit down and spend time with them.
Yeah.
And I told Ansley, I said, the little time we try to go to breakfast, I'll take her and the baby to breakfast. If we can do it once a month, we're lucky. But that time is worth so much more to me than any meal that could be prepared by any restaurant anywhere.
It is.
That time. So I said, I'd rather just be at home and make an omelet and sit and visit and talk. The time is what we're going to miss, because when my mom's been gone 23 years, and I'm getting cold chills thinking about it. Walk in and remember Thursday night before she died on Monday, I was holding her hand. And I looked, and her fingers are so much longer than me, and her hands were thinner, and I was thinking, my mama's hands. Hold your mama's hand and sit and talk to your mama and visit with your mama. Don't run her in through some restaurant where you have to sit forever. By the time you get in there, everybody's ill as a hornet. If you want to go out and you're bored to death and you can do that, go for it. Go for it. And I know y'all are lying if you tell me you can't cook, because I know you women cook. We got some good cooks that watch me because they share recipes with me. And I got the sweetest message, I think it was yesterday, from one of our viewers whose mom had saved one of the articles about me in a newspaper many years ago, like 24 years ago. And she saved this, and it was my recipes, and she had it in her recipe book or in her recipe box. Sit down with your mama or your granny and go through their recipes.
Oh yeah.
Sit down and spend some time and say, now Granny, when you did this, how did you do this? You know, because one day, if you're smart, you'll teach your grandkids to cook. You'll teach your kids to cook, because when they're about to put you in the nursing home, you'll hope they cook you a last meal.
Yeah.
But time, just time.
Time. And time is the most valuable asset that we have. It's the asset that we waste more of. And that family relationship, I mean, even just like one of the things we have in the family, now somebody has business and at lunch, it's a little bit harder to deal with. But is it really an emergency? So the deal is, when we go out, whoever picks up their phone gets the
Pays the bill. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah.
And
yeah.
and you know, and just that, it becomes a game to where you spend more time focusing on each other, because quality conversation is hard to come by today.
Yeah. Well, I've told the story many times about sitting in a restaurant in Canton with 3 ladies, and we all kept glancing over, and there was a couple and a 13-year-old, and the couple, both of them on their cell phones the whole time, and the kid just sitting there. And I was like, this is not right. This is not right, because when all is said and done, you're going to leave them some stuff. You're going to probably give them a bunch of junk they got to have a yard sale and get rid of. But your time is what's going to matter to them.
It is, and that education and passing wisdom. I mean, wealth, if somebody's fortunate enough to accumulate wealth, rarely does it ever go past the 3rd generation. And I believe a lot of that just has to do with relationship, passing on wisdom. speaking truth into the life of your kids and your family.
Are
and
your
loving
kids
each
old
other.
enough now that they say, Dad, you were right. When you were tough, you were right. Because
Oh,
you were tough. You were a tough daddy.
I was. Yeah, I was.
Have they said yet, Daddy, you were right?
I have. Kel probably not so much. Katie really understands.
Well,
it
you
at this
nearly
point.
killed Kel. Don't
I know. That poor boy, y'all. Like, one thing is,
He might have deserved a little of it.
I love that young man, but he is stubborn. He's like, oh, that line right there, I think I can step across of it. Like, whack. Like, it was World War III at our house for like 3 years.
Yeah.
But, you know, it helped shape his character. He's got good work ethic and good communication skills. Because I'm a big believer that I would tell my kids why.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't want you going to do this, and here's why.
Yeah.
I need you to tell me the truth, and here's why. And, you know, I know you want to do this, but this is where I want you to be 5 years from now. The Bible tells us in the book of Proverbs, this is wisdom that's applicable across your life, and it will pan out. So Katie's had a lot of conversations. You know, and what's really funny is...
Did she marry somebody like her or opposite from her?
Oh, Tyler in high school was probably complete opposite of Katie. And, but, I mean, he's really... And that's good. Holly and I are opposite in a lot of ways. So they blend good together. He's really good for her in certain areas, and she's really good for him in certain areas. And, but, you know, it's been really neat. Katie got together with a lot of her friends here recently that were at our house a lot growing up. And two of them pulled me aside and said, you know, there were things that you challenged me in high school. Thank you for that.
And I'm glad you did it.
Because I didn't understand now. You made me mad then, but now understand you cared enough about me to tell me something I didn't want to hear.
Yep.
You know, and then there's for that one person, there's probably 4 that thinks I'm the biggest jerk on the face of the earth. So,
Maybe.
I mean,
Maybe not.
That's okay, but my intention was right.
That's
and
right.
all the time I prayed, I'm
right.
like, oh
That's
Lord.
right.
I told Katie, she said, what was your prayer for us? And I said, Lord, grant me wisdom to raise the kids,
And not kill them.
and please protect them from my weaknesses, because we all have weaknesses. We all sin. We've all missed that mark. And the funniest thing that they don't know now that everybody laughs about, I'd get up there and I would give them the worst lectures. Like I would lecture for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
This is why. This
I
is
used
where
to
you're
tell my
going.
mama, just go ahead and whip me. Just get it over with.
That's how Kel was. He's like, the lectures were the worst thing.
Yeah.
And then I'd go downstairs and Holly was so good, and I walk into the bedroom and I'm like, I did pretty good. You know, I mean, that was like, I scarred them a little bit. They'll have some scars that they'll remember for the rest of their life, but in a good way. And then Holly would be like,
No.
blah, 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 blah. You did this wrong. You get up there and apologize to him. And I would walk up and I'd tap on the door and I'd be like, so.
Now that your mother's
And that's
straight
it.
me
They
out.
told me that made them madder than anything.
Oh,
And I'd be like,
that's
so,
funny.
you know, I really didn't mean it when I said this. That's not what I meant. This is what I meant. I'm
yeah.
sorry. Will you
Yeah,
forgive me?
yeah,
I love you.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's hard to raise kids.
Sure
I'd give
it is.
anything to have a
Lord.
book that goes with them. And then
No.
two, your kids have to respect
We have a
your
book and we're
authority.
forgetting it. The Bible tells
Yes.
you everything you need to know about raising a child. Every single thing you need to know.
Well, I'll tell you this clearly. If you haven't read the Bible front to back, read it. And just read it, right? A lot of times we
There'll be parts that you'll go, what?
Yeah, I mean,
And you won't understand.
you're amazed at what's in the Bible. You're like, there's times I've read, I'm like, that they said what?
Yeah.
Like you literally
Yeah.
put this down here?
Something will happen in my life and Dawn will say, Mama, go to da, 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 and she remembers it all. I don't remember it. I
Yeah.
read it, but I don't remember it all. Good Lordy me. And she will say, Mama, you're doing that and you're going through that because,
Because of this.
okay.
But I will tell you this. You can learn everything front to back in that Bible from a wisdom perspective, more so than any education can teach you. Because it's wisdom. I have a friend of mine that doesn't necessarily believe it's God's inerrant word, but he recognizes the wisdom that's in the Bible that's been passed down and withstood the test of time.
It has.
So everything, and I tell anybody, they're like, so what's a good book to read for raising kids? Book of Proverbs. Book of Proverbs. Read that and read it and
Over
read
and
it
over.
and read it
Yeah.
again, and then
Yeah.
read Ecclesiastes and read every book of the Bible from back to front has wisdom that's applicable in your life, because it teaches us about human nature.
Yep.
It teaches us about our own human nature. And some people read it to point out that of other people, but when you really read it, you realize each time just...
Sometimes they'll stare you in the face and scare you.
Oh yeah, it's like a reflection.
Yeah,
of,
you're going, oops.
You're like, oh, I can't believe David did that. Well, that's you in,
that's
in
you,
the wrong
big
circumstances,
boy.
right?
Yeah. We've got to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to show the pictures of the blue Chevelle, and we're going to show a couple other things. And we're going to show something I want to read, because I was reading this and I thought, oh, that kind of applies to what's going on right now. So we'll be back in just a minute.
Whether you're in the mood for chicken strips, a delicious burger, our classic banana split, or an upside-down thick blizzard treat, we've got you covered. Hot and fresh food every day, every time, and delicious DQ soft serve make the perfect pair at your favorite place. Not fast food, fan food fast. Your Blue Ridge, Ellijay, and Jasper Dairy Queens are your meet, eat, and treat headquarters.
Thank you for choosing DQ. How may I serve you?
Here's the deal. We gotta set ourselves up. See, retirement is the long game. We can't play about our future or our finances. Make moves, set up goals. Don't worry about a setback. Just save up, stack up to reach them. Let's put ourselves in the right position. Pre-game to greater things. This is pre-tirement.
See us anytime you can.
Whether you're swimming in the sea or splashing in the pool, making a masterpiece, or just making memories, writing a great American novel, or writing your term paper that's due tomorrow. Whatever you do in life, Farmers is here to protect it. For all your insurance needs, call Donald Curtis in Blue Ridge.
Now, we talked black Chevelle, perfection Chevelle, the matching number Chevelle, everything about it perfect. But I want to show you the Chevelle I really, really love. I love the black. It's my favorite, obviously. But this cobalt blue one was at a show in Cherokee, North Carolina. And I kept saying, is it blue or is it purple? Is it blue or is it purple? Well, I posted it on YouTube, and they said it is cobalt blue is the name of this color. Ooh. And I realized, I don't know if y'all remember, but I used to wear cobalt blue and black almost every day. And the kids would say, Mom, that's your signature color. It looks perfect on you. It goes great with your silver white hair that I've had forever. And so we laughed about it, and I said, oh my gosh, now Trace, can you put up the thing I was gonna read? I just wanna share this, because if you're in the market and you're trying to find a house, okay, nobody talks about how people who grew up in broken and dysfunctional homes don't have big dreams. They only dream of having a home nobody can take away and a person who won't abandon them. I have seen over and over and over, when I get to know people, I find that they are very insecure about their first home purchase because of something that happened in their life, and that they had it all. maybe their parents got a divorce. I was an 8-year-old kid who went through that. We had it all. We had the perfect family. We had the house on the water in Florida. We had it all, and my parents got a divorce. And you talk about dysfunctional. I was like a disaster because my sister and 2 brothers went one way with Daddy, and 2 of us went with Mother. It was horrible. And so all of my life, insecurity has been part of me. And so I fight to not have things change. And when I was reading that letter from Obama, and he said, I told him I had 4 part-time jobs then, but I needed a really, really good job paying more money in order to save everything I was about to lose. And the last line of his letter was to send me the unemployment office's number. And I thought, idiot, do you think I haven't already been there 47 times? It's like when things happen, it shapes you, because then you don't like change. You worry, you stress, it changes your life. And so if all you can afford is a house that needs work on it, then protect it, love it, cherish it, put like y'all are doing, that elbow grease that you're putting into your home, that will mean so much more to you than if you had walked in and I'd said, Paul, I'm selling you this place for $3 million, it's move-in ready. What you've done is create a legacy for your children.
Yes.
And one day grandchildren will be running around there going, Papa, I want to ride the tractor. You know, I mean, that's what it's about. You literally started from the ground up, and you've done what every family should do.
Well, and I'm fortunate that I'm not the type of person that's afraid to fail, right? So one thing that I did get from my family in childhood is if they can do it, you can.
Yeah.
Okay, now I can't be Einstein, I'm not that brilliant, but there are certain things, especially with work and sweat equity, that you know, everything that's happened in my life, and even the Bible's that, if somebody gets wealth too quickly, it ends up being a curse to them. You can look at that with lottery winnings.
I'm so glad you said that, because I want to ask you something. Okay, if we believe the Bible and we believe that we are blessed and we are accepted into the kingdom of heaven at some point in time, and you've accumulated all this stuff here, stuff's gone when you go to heaven.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can't take it.
Are you guaranteed to go to heaven? There are so many things that people say, well, the rich will never get into heaven, and the rich will never do this, and the rich will never. You know, that's not true. But the way we treat people is true.
Well, and what is that line? I can't remember it exactly. It's harder for a rich man to go through the eye of a needle.
Yes. My grandmother used to say that all the time. Yeah.
No, and there's a lot of truth to that, because especially with this prosperity gospel today, we tend to think somebody's, oh God, you're greatly blessed because you've accumulated this wealth. And in the churches, we tend to pull people into positions of power because they've been successful. Now, that's not all wrong, but that scripture that said there's a way that seems right to a man, but in the end it leads to death, applies to everything, right?
Yep.
If you're just off that mark just a little bit, there are people who have not accumulated a lot of wealth because of their life circumstances that have more wisdom than all of the wealthy people around combined, right?
Yep.
So the thing is, you know, I was listening to somebody that made the comment the other day, there's a couple of things that we have to do. Money can make you comfortable, but it cannot make you happy. There are people that will disagree with that, but if you go through all the studies, once somebody makes about $70,000 a year in income, there's not much benefit to the happiness they get above that, because that gives them the base kind of freedom that they have in life. So what do we do with that? You know, to whom much is given, much will be required. The Bible had kinsmen redeemers. What good does it do to accumulate a lot of wealth when you don't help someone in need?
Right.
Okay, so is that money what makes you feel that you are successful, or is it the humility before God that says, hey God, thank you for allowing me to be a steward of this and help me to use it? Now, you know, I was listening to somebody that says, what good is wealth if you don't help your family? Okay, but you got to take that into consideration, because there's a difference between enabling poor behavior and helping. Right? So, I mean, so there's always a fine balance. Wherever we are in life, if we have little, we have a lot. We have to be good stewards of what we have. each decision needs to be made with fear and trembling. Now, the Bible tells us not to fear, okay? But if we're taking consideration of that step, where it leads us to, focusing on where we are today and being good stewards of where we are, what good does it do if you've accumulated all this wealth, you spent your entire life trying to get money and not passed wisdom down to your kids, and you just shower them with money, right? Then you teach them that giving me money means that you love me. Whereas there's times where you should look at your kids and say, look, I have the resources to help you, but I'm not helping you with the decisions that you're making, right? And then there's times where individuals get into circumstances outside of their responsibility, and then you help get them through, right? You know, and I don't know how you do it because it takes a lot of wisdom, but there were people that made all the right decisions, got caught up in the calamity in 2008, who were consistent tithers to a church that could have had 2 or 3 payments that were made back from that organization, that family, that could have helped them there. But the problem is nobody wants to take responsibility to say, look, I'm sorry, you know, you had 4 properties, you can lose, you know, 3 and keep your home, or you got caught up in the layoffs between everything. You've been faithful in what you've done, will help you in this period of time. You know, nobody wants that conflict, unfortunately, and that's where I think we miss the utilization of the wealth that God gives us the ability to accumulate to be able to be a blessing to our community and to those that are around us. And then there are people that just a little bit more, that's where greed takes over. And they walk around, they love to brag about all the things they have and all the stuff that they've done because that's who they are as a person. And if we have an economic calamity, because it's happened throughout history, who is that person going to be on the other side? The type of person that we want to be is the same person, whether we have a lot or a little. And the only way that we can do that is we read God's word, because that's instructions to us, our guidelines for life, and we stay before Him and we're asking Him, what do I do with this? Right? What do I do with this? Do I help this person? Okay. You trust and you take faith in that to help. Do I help this person? The answer is no. Well, move on, right? At least you're asking the Lord, how do I be a good steward with this? And you're looking for those opportunities.
That's one of the things that, and we don't have any time left, but one of the things with the Habitat for Humanity is I felt like, you know, we got to know the families, and they were so deserving. So many people were so deserving and were trying and trying and trying. And then you hear these stories about, you know, neither one of them will work. They wouldn't work in a pie factory. My granny said that a million times. And so you choose, who do you help and who do you not help? And so I try to choose, and sometimes, you know, I've done some crazy stuff for some older people that came back and blessed me over and over and over and over.
Yeah.
Just the sweet comments, the sweet card, just the little, you know?
Yeah, and some people, encouragement or speaking encouragement into somebody's life is their gift. They may not have a lot of wealth, but that can make the difference as a body of Christ, right? So, you know, I've had conversations with people. It's like, look, if you want to be a teacher, then why go spend $400,000 out of state to go to a school that you think is cool?
Yeah, that's
because
crazy.
you're not going to make one penny more than you do if you utilize the hope here. So, would I be for paying for a kid to go out of state to go to this school just because of the fact that it's cool?
Not
No.
if you're smart.
Now, if you've got somebody that says, I want to go to MIT engineering school because they're the best in this area and I want to learn from the best there, and that's the case, then put your head on the chopping block to help that. So I'm a big believer that you help fuel dreams and discipline as long as they're putting the effort and making the sacrifices and doing the work to get there. That is providing a base and using and investing those resources that we have as a family.
That's it.
Throwing money at somebody because you feel guilty because you work too much and your kid wants to go to Europe, that's enabling a lifestyle that they may not necessarily be able to live. Right?
Look at the time.
We got about 40
There's nothing we
seconds.
can do about it. We can't stretch time. Time is all we have.
That is our most valuable
Time is
asset.
all we have. Time is all
Time's
we have.
more
And it
valuable
is
than money.
time for us to say goodbye.
Yeah.
Happy Mother's Day to each and every one of you. Happy, happy Mother's Day. pick up the phone, call your mama, go hold your mama's hand, and spend time with her, the most valuable gift you can give her. We'll be back again soon on ETC, and don't forget we're on YouTube. Check it out. Subscribe, doesn't cost a penny. We've got about 2,000 programs loaded right now.
That's
so
awesome.
Lots to watch, lots to watch. We'll see you again soon. Bye, y'all.
Bye.